Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to make gluten-free strawberry rhubarb pie. You know, I had never had rhubarb until I made this pie, and boy am I a fan now. And my husband is too. He nearly ate the entire pie himself. I had to save a couple pieces for my mom and dad. If you get a chance to make this pie, you are going to absolutely love it. It's the right amount of sweet and tart. And of course, that crust is absolutely incredible. So let's get into it and I'll show you how to make it. I'm starting by making the filling, and I want to cook my rhubarb down just a little bit until it's soft and tender. So I'm doing that by sauteing it with 4 tablespoons or 56 grams of butter. And this is a pound or 454 grams of rhubarb that I've chopped into 1/2-inch slices. I scoured the internet for strawberry rhubarb pies, and only one that was actually in one of my cookbooks from Gazina Prado cooked the rhubarb before putting it in the filling. And it was absolutely incredible. So I stuck with it, changed up her recipe to suit my taste. And as you can see, the rhubarb is getting nice and tender now. So now that it's tender, I'm going to go ahead and add in a few more ingredients, starting with 1 cup or 220 grams of firmly packed brown sugar. If you just pack your brown sugar, you'll get about 200 grams out of it per 1 cup. But if you firmly pack it, you will get 220 grams. Best advice, just weigh it and then you won't have a problem. I'm also adding to that a 1/4 cup or 60 grams of heavy cream and a tablespoon of vanilla extract. Now I see I have large lumps of brown sugar in here, but they will cook down. And that's what I'm basically going for, is when the sugar basically melts. So that'll be about 5 minutes of cooking. And to this, I'm also going to add the zest of 1 orange. I really liked the combination of the orange with the strawberries and the rhubarb. It just really brightened the whole thing up. It just made a difference. You can leave it out. You can also, a lot of people add lemon zest to theirs, but I really like the orange myself. Do what you'd like. And see, those lumps are disappearing quickly. Okay, this looks perfect. So I'm going to take it off the heat and I'm going to pour it over 2 pounds or 908 grams of strawberries that have been whole and sliced, as well as add to that a 1/4 cup or 40 grams of tapioca starch. You can use cornstarch or arrowroot starch. I just like tapioca in most of my fruit pie fillings. It just seems to make so much of a better consistency to the pie and less runny. So I'm mixing that together and I'm going to put that aside and break out my pie crust. Now I'm not going to go into how to make this pie crust because it's in so many of my other videos, but if you haven't made this yet, go to the video I am showing above and you will see how to make the best pie crust ever, gluten-free or not. This is, at least this is what my husband tells me, and I would tend to agree with him. He tells me like it is. If he doesn't like something, he's going to tell me, and he says this is the best pie crust he's ever had. And I would have to agree with him, I have to say, because it is just a dream to roll out, a dream to work with, and it creates the most tender but also flaky pie crust you will ever have. Make sure, like, after you roll each side out, stop moving around, and that will ensure that it won't stick. And add more flour if you need to. So we're just going to get this into at least about an 11-inch rough circle. It doesn't have to be perfect. Mine are never perfect, and that's perfectly fine. Just something that's going to fit into a 9-inch pie plate. So here's my pie plate. Just want to make sure that it's going to fit, and yes, it will definitely fit. So I'm going to take the pie crust and roll it onto my rolling pin and then unroll it right off of my rolling pin into my pie plate. So simple to do. And then I'm going to make sure to press it into all the corners of that pie plate. Okay, this we're just going to put aside. We're not going to trim it off or anything. We're going to put it in the fridge while we do the other part of this. And this is the lattice top. I have another video that I've created a really nice lattice top, and it goes into a little more detail than this one does. So if you want to check that out, I'll leave a link for that above. I am making about roughly 1-inch thick strips. You can also make them 1/2 inch. You can make them different sizes, whatever you'd like, but generally go for about 8 strips or so, 4 going one way and 4 going the other way. So now we'll get our chilled pie crust out, and we'll go ahead and add our filling to it. That's also nice and cooled down. It does not need to be chilled before it goes in there, just as long as it's nice and cool. Look at all that luscious filling. It is so good, you guys. That rhubarb, I would probably never want another pie, strawberry pie like this, a baked strawberry pie, without that rhubarb. Now, if you want a strawberry pie that is not baked, that is using fresh strawberries, that is unbaked in the filling, you have to try my fresh strawberry pie. I'll leave a link for that above. So I'm just going to take my 4 strips and go across. So now I have to think a minute how I do this. Every time I do lattice crust, I have to think back to how to do this. So I'm just going to start by putting the one vertical on the one side just to get it started. And now I'm going to take every other one and fold them over so that I can put the other vertical right next to it. If that makes any sense whatsoever. It's hard to explain rather than just watch how to do it. Now I'll take the opposite ones that I didn't fold back. And I think you get the gist. Again, you don't have to do the lattice top. I think it just is really pretty in this pie particularly. But again, you can just do a regular pie top and just make sure you vent it. And as you can see, one of my pie crust strips was broken, and you'll never know it once it's all said and done. Now I'm just taking that excess pie dough and folding it, rolling it basically over the edges of all of the strips and pressing it down really well. And now I'm just crimping the edges. You can use a fork for this. I just like using my fingers and my thumb. And we at our house like a nice thick crust edge. If you don't, you can trim some of that off and just make it nice and thin basically. Okay, now I'm taking an egg wash, which is just 1 egg mixed with about a tablespoon of water and a pinch of salt, and I'm just egg washing all of the lattice part. And for a final note, this is totally optional. You can take some turbinado, demerara, or sparkling sugar and just sprinkle it all over the top. And this goes into a 350-degree Fahrenheit oven, and it bakes for about 50 to 55 minutes or until you see bubbling filling coming out of those slits of the pie crust, and it's nice and golden brown. So let's get it into the oven. I have it on a sheet tray just to catch any drips. And here it is, you guys. It smells and looks so wonderful. But we have to let it cool, you guys, before we can cut into it so it won't be all soupy. And this is it. It is incredible, you guys. I can't say it enough. If you love rhubarb, you will absolutely love this. If you've never had rhubarb, Try it because you will be pleasantly surprised. That tartness of the rhubarb goes so well with the strawberries. It tames them down, the sweetness just a little bit. It's so good, you guys. I hope you get a chance to make it. Enjoy.